You will show me the path to life, the fullness of joys in your presence, the delights at your right hand forever. This is a verse from the psalm that we just sang together a few moments ago after that first reading. I love the message. The psalmist is saying that to be near God is his happiness, that the presence of the Lord, which he experiences in prayer, brings him fullness of joy. I recall the moment when I began to discover just how true these words of the psalm are. I was just a kid. I was in junior high school, middle school, we'd call it. Today I was, I believe, a 7th grader. I was part of a Methodist church in Detroit. My father directed the religious ed program, though we didn't call it that. We called it Sunday school. So my dad supervised Sunday school, and in this particular year, he was also the teacher of the junior high school age boys. There were quite a few of them, and my dad had his job cut out for him, handling all of us young bucks. I recall the day, it was Sunday morning, when he asked the question, "Do you fellas pray?" And to a man, each of the young guys said, "Yes, Mr. Tipton, I pray, I pray." Everyone said they pray. And then my dad persisted. He says, "Well, how do you pray? What is it that you say to God?" And then occurred a funny moment, because we all, on our own, began to pray in unison. "Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take." Now, in my family, we were taught that then you say, "And God bless," and you run through everybody in the family, the immediate family and the extended family. But I was shocked because I thought this was our prayer. And here I learned that all of the families in the church had been teaching their kids to pray the same prayer that I prayed at night before I'd go to bed. Well, then my father shocked us. He said, "That's a child's prayer." He says, "You fellas are getting to be young men now. You should begin to pray to the Lord in your own words, words coming from your own heart." Well, now this was a news flash, because up to that point, all I knew was formalized prayers or prayers of petition. "Lord, we need this. Lord, we need that." And I didn't pray that. My folks might pray those. But to speak to God in my own words, my father said, as a man would speak to his friend. So it's possible for you to engage God in your own words. Well, the day passed, night came, bedtime arrived, and as was my custom, because this is what we did in our family, down on my knees at my bedside I fell. And now, force of habit just takes over. "Now I lay me down to..." I remembered Dad's words. Now, you want me to be honest, it scared me. I mean, I didn't know what to say. It's so easy to rely on this prayer I was taught at the youngest age. And so, to be honest, it was clumsy and it was awkward. I found myself groping for words. But as they began to come out of my mouth, something happened. It was as though that bedroom became a sanctuary. It was as if the Lord had come down from heaven and was sitting right there on my bedside next to me, listening to every word. And for the first time in my memory, I experienced being in the presence of the Lord. And oh, I can't tell you the impact. I mean, it was invigorating. Now, remember, I'm just a little kid. But I'm touching God. And he has made himself so present, I feel like I could reach out and touch him. And it was intoxicating. I wanted more. It was a taste of what the psalmist talks about. In his presence, there is fullness of joy. At his right hand are pleasures or delights that can last forever. And so, my friends, there is a divine person awaiting us in prayer. A person who wants to be the cause of our joy, the source of the deepest delights of our hearts. It is possible that God is someone whose company we can enjoy rather than simply endure. You know what I mean? It is possible that being in the presence of the Lord is not simply a chore, but a joy. And if your heart longs or yearns to experience God in this way, I want to invite you to do something very, very simple. Carve out time in your daily routine that's dedicated to nothing else and no one else but God. And if you are a beginner at this, start small. 10 minutes from the day. And engage him in your own words. A friend of mine calls this the pause in the day that refreshes. In the midst of the day or at the beginning of the day, whenever works, time out for the pause that refreshes. Give him just 10 minutes. I call this a prayer appetizer. I call it that because that 10 minutes whets our appetite for more. That 10 minutes, because of the one we encounter in it, incites our hunger for the meal, the banquet that God prepares for those who dedicate time for him in prayer. And what happens is that 10 minutes becomes 15. And over time, 15 becomes a half an hour. And lo and behold, next thing you discover, you've spent a whole hour with God, and it feels like mere minutes. How can this be? In his presence, there is fullness of joy, delights at God's right hand for you forever.